What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, ACS Reacts. It's your boy AJ here. Thank you so much for joining me today for something a little different, actually. Little video here I wanted to do for Tower of God in regards to the most recent chapter, Season 3, Chapter 95. So if you haven't read that, go on and get out of here because there's going to be some spoilers. But of course, the title itself is a little spoiler itself, but whatever. There's not much you can do about that. But thank you so much for joining me again, and just wanted to pose this question to the community at large for Tower of God, and that is, what comes of White's defeat? So I know in the last chapter that one thing that did come from it was the power up for Khun, Bam, and Rak. Now, a lot of people are focusing on that, but I kind of want to shift the conversation to something a little more further down, maybe get some theory crafting in there, and just, propose a question and get some ideas going. So, what comes from White's defeat? There's a few things I have that I'm going to share with you guys in a little bit here, but just wanted to go ahead and give a little background here. So, White's defeat really came to a shock to me, because at the beginning of this arc, I really didn't think that he was going to be someone that would be taken down. I really thought that he was going to be one of the last people that would happen to, and honestly, someone like Evankhell seemed a lot more likely to go down to me than White was. So I was really shocked, honestly, and his defeat, I think, really holds some significance, and I think it's sort of going to echo across the world of Tower of God here. So an example of what I mean is sort of like Doflamingo from One Piece. Now again, if you're not caught up in One Piece, go ahead and exit out of here because there's going to be some spoilers here. So the defeat of Doflamingo, he was definitely someone who had a lot to do with the story at large, even behind the scenes. He was connected to a number of major parties in the New World, the world government. He was known as the underworld broker, who was holding the reins, so to speak, as they love to say. Now, White isn't as connected as Doflamingo, of course, but I think he was definitely someone who was significant as a high ranker, as a slayer, and as a member of one of the 10 great families. So I think this is something that would definitely come back to bite Bam later on, or in some ways it might even help him. Who knows? But I'm definitely really curious to know what does come from this. I'm also much more curious to know what you all have to say about this as well. The first part I'm going to get into is FUG or Fug. So I think that there are definitely three things that can happen with the defeat of White when it comes to FUG. The first thing that I think, and I think this might be the strongest argument I have, is that we're going to start seeing Fug recruiting for a new Slayer, whether it's a Slayer candidate or they're going to be going for after some ranker who is already established to sort of fill the role. So we know that before White's defeat, there were 7 out of the 11 Slayer seats filled. Bam as a candidate, and of course a surefire candidate that was going to be 8 seats. So with White's defeat, and Bam included, we're back to 7, but without, there's 6. So they're definitely at half power. They can't even touch the 10 great family heads without, I believe, these 11 seats. And White himself, I think, held a important one because he was the Slayer that was to take on Ahrihan. Now, Ahrihan, of course, we know, is not only his father, but he's also the strongest swordsman in the tower. He's also one of the top 10 rankers, and he's also like I said, a powerhouse. I believe like some of the only people he has lost to were Jihad himself. I know he took a test with Uruk when Uruk got to the 100th floor, but I'm not too sure if he sort of lost to him in any sort of fight. But correct me if I'm wrong there. Let me know. Let me know what really happened on, because I'm sort of blanking on that right now. But I definitely think that White White's defeat left a void there, because as someone who is proficient and knows Ari's swordsmanship, he's kind of one of the only people in the tower who can really go against Ari's swordsmanship naturally. I don't think that there are many natural enemies for someone like Ari-Han out there. So with someone like him gone, they're definitely going to need to find someone to help fill that void. And I also think that this could really be interesting, because maybe we can see other Slayer candidates appear as the climb goes on. Now it might be, you know, B rankers or A rankers who might be considered Slayer candidates, but we're not really sure. We don't really hear about any of them, but we do know that there have been others besides Bam, because the Mad Dogs were also considered to be Slayer candidates until their demise. So I really wouldn't be surprised if someone who was a little further up the tower, a little more established, and made a name for themselves as they climbed, could definitely be considered as a Slayer candidate. And we also know from BAM training that there are those who lurk in the tower who have sort of stopped climbing, but they've never stopped training. They've remained fighting, and they're sort of in these war zone areas, I believe Ivanko called them. And these are some people who are regulars considered, but they also still have the strength of a ranker. So I definitely think that someone like that could really help fill the void, and even give a little more to Bam's training, because we didn't really see him go up against any of these people, but just to know that they're out there, flesh them out a little more, I think would be really good for the story overall. And so the second thing that I believe is going to happen with FUG is going to be with the elders and the followers of Fug. So they all love to play the little political games, as we saw, of course, in the cage. The elders they can be very deceptive and sneaky. They can really kiss ass when it comes to some of these slayers. So I think that they're going to start their own little political games, and some of them are really going to start to make some moves here. And I think that some will make moves to endorse Bam as their slayer god, because as the person who defeated White, they can't really go ahead and oppose him. And of course, there are probably some people who are in White's corner who may switch sides, of course. But on the flip side, I think this can also backfire, because you could also see elders and followers go against Bam at the same time, whether it's one or the other, or both. And honestly, we know that some of them have some real malice, and some of them already have some real malice towards Bam. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of sparked or triggered any of them to sort of put a hit out on him, as he's sort of climbing, to send some of their henchmen, or maybe even some of these elders themselves, can go on out there and try to take out Bam, sort of in a way like Kelehalam did with Yama. And the third and last thing I'll say about this is sort of kind of like the elders and followers, but more specifically with some of these other slayers. So there are 6 other slayers. Of course, there's Yama, so that's going to be 5. Oh no, correct me. There's Yama and Karaka, so 4. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Let me know if I'm missing anyone here. But not including those 2, there are 4 other slayers who are either dormant or just inactive. So what if one of them sort of had some sort of a likeness, or they sort of liked White, or they sort of liked what he brought to the organization, or what he did when it came to this final fight against the 10 Great Families. So I'm really curious to know if anyone believes that someone like one of these hidden slayers might have some sort of malice towards Bam for taking out one of their own. But I really don't see any of the slayers to sort of having sort of camaraderie. And I also know that White really isn't really a people person, so I'd be really surprised if there was a Slayer that was sort of out there sticking out for him. Um, but hey, I mean, it's always possible. I think it would be interesting, just so a little bit of more discourse amongst the organization. As you've seen, they're very unorganized. They don't really have a clear goal, and they're very divided, honestly, as an organization. So I mean, it's possible. That one I think is much more of a reach, but hey. So the second idea that I really want to get into is how this really affects BAM going forward in relation to one of the 10 great family heads, Ari Han, also known as White's father. So we know that as his father, and actually the father of all, I believe 5 of the children that make up White as a whole, as a father of all 5 of them, and also all 5 of them being direct descendants of his, I really feel like we know that he wasn't the best father, of course. He really didn't care too much for them unless they showed promise or they were kind of powerful. But I definitely feel like he sort of kept tabs on White as throughout his entire journey, because one, father, of course, and direct children, but also because White gained power solely to fight his father. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that Ari Han had kept tabs on him to anticipate a fight one day. But I really think that he was much more so impressed by White's defeat here. So I think once word gets back to him this has happened, I think his curiosity and interest in BAM is going to really increase, especially being Bomb, especially because Bomb is another irregular. So as someone who kind of seeks strong opponents, at least that's who he comes off to me to be, I think this is going to really echo up to this 100th floor, because we know that Ari Han passes his own tests on to regulars as they climb up to his floor. We know that Urek famously made his mark there on the 100th floor when he took the test. So I really wouldn't be surprised if because of this, Ari Han is a very special sort of trial or test for BAM once he gets up there, whether it's his own, whether it's an administrator's test. But I really think that because of this, he's going to be keeping tabs on BAM much more, and that when the time comes, he's really going to push him and try to see what he's made of. So sort of the last thing I'll say when it comes to the Ari family is, again, White was sort of an outcast to the family. He left to go seek his own strength, and I basically believe he just cut all ties with them. So I don't think that this is going to happen, but maybe there's someone out there in the Ari family who did sort of care for White, who may hold some resentment towards BAM and his followers, because as a family, you don't want your name to sort of be disgraced or dragged through the mud, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if one of them, as they climb up the tower, because of course you're going to meet up with one of them as you climb, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of them sort of have that sort of malice, or they want to go ahead and take BAM on because they know him to be the man who defeated White, so they want to prove themselves. And this could definitely be a way for them to improve their father, who really only seeks to care for, or in whatever way caring for him is through power when it comes to his children. So they might go after him to sort of prove themselves or test themselves. So he's already being harassed by Jihad's army, so I wouldn't be surprised if any of them joined in on the hunt, honestly, for this. But that's pretty much all I've got. Definitely let me know what you guys have to say about how this can really echo throughout the story, White's defeat, of course, and what you think might possibly happen, going forward. Yeah, definitely let you know in the comments down below. But again, thank you all for coming on through. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, of course, and I'll see you all for the next one. Peace out, everybody. Take care. Bye.